Good evening. It is 5:30 on Monday, February 9th, and I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole to order and ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Martiez.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Navarez Martinez. You have a quorum of the committee.
Well, the committee is present. Before we move into the approval of the minutes, I just want to note that under Other, we'll be entertaining two motions for closed session, followed by a potential action on a resolution. So that will be reflected in the agenda and minutes. First thing first, we need an approval for the minutes from January 26th, 2026.
I move the minutes for January 26, 2026 as presented.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is public comment on agenda items. For the Committee of the Whole, we ask that you sign in for our records, but if you'd like to speak to the committee on any of the agenda items, again, this is Committee of the Whole, so just agenda items for public comment tonight. We ask that you step up to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes to complete your public comment. Anyone wishing to address the committee tonight?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Davis. I am the former business manager of Local 352 that represents the employees, unionized employees at the Board of Water and Light. I'm currently, for the last 18 years, have been the international representative for the IBEW for the state of Michigan and Indiana, covering utilities. I speak tonight in regards to the Deep Green project.
Sir, if I could interrupt you real quick.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. That's actually not on this agenda. It's on the 7 o'clock City Council meeting
Okay.
agenda. That's all right. That happens sometimes. So if you want to stick around for public comment
Sure.
for the council, that'll be the appropriate time for that.
I sure will. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Anyone else wishing to address the committee? This evening, we have a presentation from the Ingham Intermediate School District, a construction update on city projects, a member being vetted for the Board of Review, and a public hearing on the amendment to the LEPFA operating contract. Anyone here for Deep Green? That'll be on the 7 o'clock City Council meeting this evening. Okay, seeing none. City TV, do we have any virtual public comment for this evening? No virtual comment this evening. The public comment period for the Committee of the Whole is now closed. If the committee will indulge, we have a member here being interviewed for the Board of Review who has other appointments to get to this evening, so we would like to move that to be the first thing we discuss. So if we could, if you would like to take a seat at the table here, Mr. Butcher. We have Kim Butcher, who is up for an at-large appointment to the Board of Review, a term expiring June 30th, 2027. So, Mr. Butcher, how this typically goes is we'll have you just give a brief introduction of yourself and why you're interested in serving on the Board of Review. And before you get started, there's a button there that says push if you want to, no, on the microphone, sorry. If you push that, the green light will light up, and that'll give you the mic. Thank you.
My name is Kim Butcher. I've resided at 2101 Lansing, or 2101 Wabash Road, Lansing, for over 50 years. And I heard there was going to be a need on the board for a new person, so I thought I would apply. And been a taxpayer these last 50 years, kind of wondered how things work. Every year I received a notice that I could go contest my, tax increase or whatever, and I thought, how does that all work? Well, I took the training, got the certification, watched the ethics video with Heather Sumner, and I'd like to serve the city, the residents of Lansing, on behalf of the Assessor's Department.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Butcher? Councilmember Hussein.
Yes, it's actually just for the administration. The application that we have is from back in 2021. And so, Chris, I'm wondering, when we have an application that's that dated, are we ensuring that we are re-gauging interest, number one, and then number two, making sure that everything is still as is on the application and that they still meet the requirements to serve on the board?
That is our process.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the committee? Mr. Garza, go ahead.
I believe your application says you're on Wabash Road. Are you still currently there?
Correct.
Now, that is Ward 2, isn't it? Because I see it says Ward 3 on the application.
That's a you question.
I'm pretty sure it's Ward 2, so just for clarification.
Right, and just to thank you for that clarification. We can correct that, but I want to highlight this is an at-large appointment too. So, Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, one more thing for the city's administration. I was looking at, and looking at this a couple weeks back when we were originally scheduled to vet this. The Board of Review website, I know the meetings are mostly in, I think it's March, December, July, but it states that those meetings are still being held online via Zoom. That's not correct, is it?
I'll check into it.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further questions, all those we need a motion to approve the resolution. Councilmember Pellegrini.
I move the resolution for the appointment of Kim Butcher as the at-large member of the Board of Review with a term to expire June 30th of 2027.
It is a proper motion. Seeing any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Butcher, I know you've got somewhere to be, so if you want to make an appointment with the clerk's office to be sworn in as early as tomorrow, you can do that, and we thank you for your interest in serving.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we are going to have a presentation from Jason Melma, who is the superintendent of the Ingham County Intermediate School District. As you're aware, many of you might be aware, the ISD is looking at a bond to support special education services in the county, and Superintendent Melma has asked to present the facts and information on that to the City Council. So welcome to Committee of the Whole.
Thank you so much, esteemed council members. As Peter mentioned, my name is Jason Malum. I'm the superintendent here at Ingham ISD. The Intermediate School District serves 12 local traditional school districts. There are approximately 8 charter schools, and I say because sometimes that rotates based on the year to year for what's going on. But 42,000 students, over 42,000 students at our traditional school districts. We tack in the approximately 26 parochial schools, and there's over 50,000 students that we try to provide supports and services to. Those areas primarily are in special education, career and technical education, and then some of the general education supports. Some of those are statutory in nature, and then some of those are supports with respect to professional development. Today, I'm bringing forward information for you with respect to a special education facilities bond that will be in front of taxpayers on May 5th of this year, partially because this has direct impact on the city of Lansing, and partially because even where that parcel is located, there is a trail that works through that. We want to make sure that we've coordinated, communicated with you. Obviously, any of those impacts that might be there, we want to make sure that you are in full awareness of how this continues to support not only the city of Lansing, but students from within our service area. So hopefully I can get this to work okay. All right. So whenever anybody wants to understand a little bit about a facilities bond, one of the biggest questions that comes up, of course, is what's on the ballot? And I think it's important to lead with that because I believe that at its core, it's a social contract that we make with respect to taxpayers. So we are respectfully asking for 0.55 mil increase that would be for 20 years. That would generate $99.96 million, and that would be directed for 2 special education facilities, the Beekman Center, as it's known, and Hartwood School. Both of those are schools that serve our students in center-based programs. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but center-based programs as a whole are for the programs that serve students with the highest levels of special education needs. So as I referenced earlier, there was about 42,000 students. There's about 6,700 students that have individualized education plans. Of those 6,700, less than 250 attend schools with our highest levels of special needs. So these are very specialized schools. Again, we'll talk more as we get through this. But kind of 3 key reasons that I think are really important. First is the age. We are now to the average age of 53 years. Second, when those facilities were constructed, there were some significant differences with respect to laws. IDEA didn't come into effect until 1975. The MARS rules, which are the state rules here for special education, weren't created until 1972. So these were buildings that were pioneers. The Beekman Center was a pioneer with respect to providing services for those with special needs, and Hartwood wasn't much behind it. Beyond that, as we think about the mobility and the medical needs of these students, it's very important for us to consider how do we make sure that these students are provided the right types of educational experiences in a dignified manner that's respectful of their peers, their colleagues, their brothers and sisters that would attend our traditional schools. I think it's important, especially as I sit here in front of the City Council, to understand the gravity of what we're talking about when we think about special education. So the Beekman Center is named after Marv Beekman. Now, Marv Beekman started as the special education director of special education for the Lansing School District in the early 50s. That was a very novel concept. Why? Because special education was voluntary. Most school districts didn't provide any services to those with special education in the 50s. Students with high levels of special needs were either institutionalized or, as parents, you stayed home. Those were your two options. Marv didn't believe that that's the way it should be, and he was a huge advocate on behalf of special education as a whole. In the late 50s and early 60s, he began actually writing op-eds for the LSJ and began speaking wherever he could to make sure that people understood that all students should have a right to education. Now, I say this with all due respect, that was a crazy idea in the late 50s and early 60s. To bring forward and talk about to make sure that all students would have a right to education was incredibly audacious because no laws existed. But Marv continued to advocate, and from that, in the early 60s, the idea was hatched to dedicate a school to those with students with special needs, high levels of special needs, which would be center-based programs. So by the early 60s, this was starting to come together. The mid-60s, the idea was really moving forward. The feds actually promised half the funds. The feds backed out half the funds, and the ISD actually contributed $1.4 million to purchase the land and then construct the building that we would know as the Beekman Center. This was not only the first school in the area when we think about serving those with special needs. This was not only the first school in the state of Michigan with high levels of special needs. The Beekman Center is the first school in the United States to serve students in center-based programs. That's how big of a deal it was when you think about the legacy that Marv Beekman left. He and John Bray, who was the first principal of the Beekman Center, actually helped design the school. Why? Because there was no template. When you are building from scratch, when you're a pioneer, you got to make things up. Some of the ideas have stood the test of time. Some of the ideas you look back at and say, well, may not have aged as well. And again, this was before the Americans with Disabilities Act. So you were designing a school before there were ever any laws around that. After Marv left, after the building was created and Marv left the Lansing School District because he was tapped by the Michigan Department of Education to become the Director of Special Ed at the statewide level. Congratulations, you did a fantastic job with it. And one of his first charges was to actually help author the MARS rules, which were completed in 1972. After that, he was tapped at the national level, where he helped advocate on behalf of IDEA and actually was involved in part of a Senate committee hearing at the federal level on behalf of those with special needs. If it wasn't for a heart attack, he probably would have been there authoring those laws as well. This is a person who should be celebrated throughout the city, the state, and nationally on what happened on behalf of those with special needs. Fun fact, his family continued to advocate on behalf of those with special needs. He's had sons that have continued to take on cases. They've been lawyers, and they've not only done it here within the United States, but also internationally. So this is a passion for those families. So after he left the Lansing School District, well, the school was named after him. Kind of makes sense. It grew to over 300 students shortly thereafter, because again, when you're trying to build a school, it's hard to estimate how many students are going to be there when they're not attending school. So it quickly grew, but the only structural improvements we've seen has been a roof in 2014. So that prompted the build of what is Hartwood. Hartwood is a school, mirrors Beekman with respect to the services they provide. And I think it's good for everybody to understand when we talk about the 12 traditional districts, students that come into whether it's Hartwood or Beekman, Hart was constructed then in 1978 because of the need, because of how many students are being served. Students come from all of these 12 traditional districts. Our ISD actually stretches into 7 different counties as part of that process. So they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I can talk for a while, but I also think it's important for you to understand and see, and would love, respectfully, at any point in time, if you're interested in a tour of these facilities, would love to bring you on site. But when we look at the Beekman Center, what you're going to see is a facility that is beyond its useful life expectancy. Again, it was created in 1968, and the renovations include a new roof. It's not accessible. It's not up to code with ADA. It's not up to current safety standards when we think about safety. It's not up to current fire standards. We've done the best we could with what we've had. The ISD actually took over operations on July 1st of 2024. Prior to that, the Lansing School District had been operating it from its construction back in 1968. But it's good to look at these pictures and understand what we're talking about with respect to some of the challenges that are there. This next picture actually demonstrates some of the issues that have been there with water problems, as well as some of the old mechanical systems. I can continue to move through these again. I think it's just helpful to understand what we're talking about. These are the original HVAC systems. These are the 60s. This is what things look like. From an engineering perspective, this next picture, back in the 60s, it was probably a brilliant artwork. Today, it'd be considered crazy. Those are all pneumatic controls that are based on air. It's unbelievable what was done. Can't handle overloads in systems at this point in time. If we have a power outage, restarting the building, these systems break. Again, they're beyond their useful life expectancy. One of the cool things that was designed in the school back when it was created was the idea of a therapy pool. This is what the therapy pool looks like today. The only way it fills up is from the bottom when we have too much water in the water table. We've tried to fix it as best as possible. It's not fixable. For students to receive therapy services, aquatic therapy services, they have to be bused out to Hartwood at this point in time. Construction of the facility, different materials as far as what's used today. What you see on the floor there are 9x9 tiles. If you're familiar with that in a construction standpoint, those are asbestos. Again, we are doing the best we can with what we have. As long as that doesn't become friable, it continues to be fine. But we would know if we were constructing a school today, you would not use that construction material. Back in the 60s, this was a reasonable construction material. Schools are not designed this way anymore. And just some of the structural aspects with respect to how the school looks. Just important to kind of take a look at some of the different things that are there. I mean, even from an overhang standpoint, there was no special education busing in 1968. Parents had to bring their kids. Soon after, there were station wagons. But for a bus to pull up to our facility and try to get under the overhang, they actually run into the overhang because the overhang wasn't designed for buses. So, again, those pictures, I think, can tell you a lot more than what I'm going to kind of give you the rest of, but I think it's important for you to have the details. Right? When we look at what's happened and what's changed with respect to our special education facilities, some of this I've kind of already covered, but this is about the basics when we think about accessibility. This is about the basics when we think about even toileting and what happens in bathrooms. This is about the basics with respect to safety. These are needs for our students. These are not wants. So it kind of comes down to three areas that we've identified: accessibility, engagement, and safety. Accessibility to make sure that all students have opportunities to quality education. Engagement to make sure that the classrooms are outfitted with technologies that are appropriate to our students. And the safety that was never even thought of back in the 60s, right? If you heard the term Columbine back then, it didn't mean school shooting. It's sad that we have to design schools for that, but that's also our reality. Here's kind of a cool picture that I think is just important to also show conceptually of where we're looking at. Trying to make sure that the overhang would actually meet so that way buses could get underneath it. There's a barrier-free entrances. And even looking at just designing some of the structures to make sure that there could be even like some heat underneath the sidewalks, so that way it wouldn't get tangled up in some of the wheelchairs, because mobility is one of the biggest challenges we have for students. Many of our students need mobility aids in order to be able to move throughout the facilities. Again, some of this I've kind of referenced already, but I do think it's important just to come back to what we've got here and looking at those environments and making sure that we are connected with what the needs of the students might be. I say this with all due respect, but what you see there is an entrance at another school facility in the state that's been recently designed and created, that's barrier-free, that has daylight, that has entrances that make sense for our students, thinking about how do they even open that, right? How do you get by a sliding door that's based on sensors? Makes a whole lot more sense once you're approved to get in. Intentional design, that's what we're looking at with respect to our students. Some really good information that I think we're trying to be looking at when we think about students first, which kind of gets into this, right? How do we make sure that all of our students have opportunities with respect to the classroom? How do we make sure that whether it's therapy, whether it's mobility, whether it's other specific needs that they might have, that we've addressed those in designing a building that meets what the needs are for students in 2026? And so we're looking at this as comparable to what we would expect for any of their peers and their traditional schools for their brothers and sisters. I started this at the beginning, and I'm respectful of this as well. What's the impact? What does this mean for taxpayers? Again, anytime you go out and ask taxpayers respectfully for funds to be able to support something, there's a social contract that's made. You're asking for dollars to be entrusted to make sure that students have the right types of opportunities. With that, we want to be forthcoming. What would the impact be to those in the community? And what you see there is kind of a diagram that gives information based on market value and what the tax impact would be. As you can see from the equalization department here for the county, they've given us what the median parcel value is with respect to that 153. Drop that down to taxable value, right? Because that's market value. Half of that, no more than half of that is ever taxable value. And then you take the 0.55 mils, that brings up to where those numbers that you see there. For what it's worth, for the median parcel, it's about $3.40 a month. I don't think you can get out of Big B for less than that. It'd be hard. Again, we want to be respectful. We understand that there are challenges for lots of areas, but we're advocating on behalf of students because there are needs, not necessarily wants, and we're trying to do this in a manner that is financially responsible. Fiscal stewardship is a big deal for us. There's some information here within your packet, as well as the election day with a May 5th ballot. As you guys know, absentee ballots have significantly changed the way in which people vote, which means absentee ballots are available on March 26th of this spring. So we are well aware, we are approximately 45 days from those ballots being out there, and we are doing what we can to make sure that we are in communication with respect to this upcoming bond. Now, when I started, I referenced there could be an impact with respect to the city of Lansing. The Beekman Center, if you're unaware, is inside Lansing. So the Beekman Center would be fully rebuilt. After it's rebuilt, then students would be transitioned over, because you can't take students that are in wheelchairs that need significant mobility devices and just move them to another school and they'll be fine for 2 years. It doesn't work that way. So after that would be completed, then they would be moved over. But this would be a new school in Lansing. Again, there's a river trail that, or a trail that runs along that. We would make sure we were coordinated with Lansing as part of that process for egress and what needs to happen. Safety, of course, is a primary focus, so whenever you're constructing things. So we've already worked out a deal with the Lansing School Board, which should we be successful on May 5th, they have agreed for $1, which is the legal minimum, to transfer 20 acres to be able to build this facility directly adjacent. Hartwood, which is the other school that's being addressed, would see heavy renovations. That school is actually located on our Mason campus. And so both schools would see renovations. That way students, regardless of what school they went to, would have similar experiences, which is really important for us, that equity lens. What questions might you have?
We'll open it up to questions. Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Superintendent Malenma, did I pronounce that right?
Melima, but it works.
Melima,
I've been
okay,
called
all right,
loud worse.
sorry.
I'm all right with that.
All right. I appreciate you being here, and the tax explanation is very helpful. Now, with the just under $100 million upgrades to the ISD, what would go to the Beekman and what would go to the Heartland?
So we're estimating, based on the information we have from our architectural firm and construction management firms we're working with, approximately $65 million with respect to the rebuild for Beekman, and that leaves about $35 million with respect to the renovations at Hartwood. So that's based on current information. Now, Part of you might ask and say, why 65 million? Building a facility for students with high levels of special needs is significantly more expensive than building a school for students like I attended, in rows, in lines. It's not the way it works for kids with special needs. From bathroom spaces to hallway design to mobility and therapy spaces, thinking about where wheelchairs are stored, thinking about where therapy is provided, these schools are significantly more expensive. So $65 million is the information we have there.
Thank you.
Other questions for the superintendent? Seeing none, we thank you for presenting this tonight and for bringing this forward.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Jason. While we're getting ready, the next presentation is a city construction project status update from the administration. So we're going to hear, Christopher, what order? Are we going to hear Ovation, Public Safety, and then City Hall? Or what order would you like to go? What are they going in?
In whatever order you prefer.
Okay. Well, I've got Ovation first on my list, so we'll call down Dominic Cochran, Emily Linden, and Jeff DeHaan. And anyone else who was supposed to be here for Ovation. Hey, Dominic. So thank you very much. We'll, City TV, we're looking at the, oh, is there a there's not a presentation, okay. Go ahead, Dominic.
Maybe pull up that first slide.
I did not
Oh.
get a presentation, so if there's a presentation, it only went to City TV.
Got it. There we go.
I think you got the information, and it's just in presentation format. It should be the same information with added some pictures. We have Brendan Fox from Demaxian that's here as well. So, construction updates. You'll see that when I refer to the 520 building, that's discussing the existing building that's on the parcel that we're currently renovating to be the Ovation offices and the new and permanent location of the Lansing Public Media Center. And then when I refer to the Ovation, that's the new construction that will be happening this spring. Okay, so significant progress. Major milestones at 520, while also advancing design, procurement, and buyout efforts for the Ovation. In the coming quarter, we'll focus on interior finishes and occupancy at 520, alongside final plan approvals and earthwork and foundation work for the Ovation. Targeting a late March 2026 occupancy for 520. Yes, that means next month, which feels really good to say. And a late Q1 of 2027 occupancy for the Ovation. A few bullet points. So framing in the 520 building, you'll see some pictures later. Rough MEP installation. We've got you might have noticed if you've driven by, there's a brand new rooftop air handling unit on the roof there, and insulation and drywall. We've got the rough inspections and approvals are complete, so we've actually started putting some color on the walls and paint samples, and so it's really starting to feel finished in there. We're actually going to be scheduling soon walkthroughs for lots of different people, and we expect City Council to be invited to that. We tried to get one going today. There was a little bit of a miscommunication, but we will certainly get one going soon. For the Ovation building, for the new construction, we've got, if you remember the last presentation, we pivoted to a design build methodology. We experienced a lot of success with that and cost saving and getting back to budget. Those modifications to the plan and design are about 90% complete. Looking to submit for that new plan review probably next month, I believe. We've bought out major MEP and steel contracts already and have ordered the long lead electrical gear. So that's over the previous quarter. What's next coming, the upcoming quarter, we've got the completion of those interiors and finishes in the 520 building. Of course, our final inspections and occupancy, moving in furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So again, if we get our occupancy permit by the end of next month, we hope to be moving in there and up and running within a month after that. So we're the whole media center team is really excited to get moved to our third and hopefully final location. For the Ovation, we got plan review, post-design build modifications, buyout of those remaining subcontracts, pre-ordering the long lead mechanical and AV items, commencing earthwork and foundations. So that's when we'll finally see the earth moving on the site, hopefully as soon as the permafrost melts and allows us to get in the ground around April. Hopefully even by the end of March, we'll see. Continued coordination with utilities, regulating city departments, and the wider community. So you've seen us out in the community sponsoring live music events all over the city. We'll continue to do that over the next year. And then I'll turn it over to Emily for some financials.
Yes, so as everyone knows, the $28 million construction budget is fully in place. The 520 build out is 2.8 million of that, so that is well underway. Construction dollars spent to date, about 3.75 million. With a lot of that being the 520 build out that will be moving into next month, and the rest of it being the Ovation project that Dom just mentioned, all of the ongoing efforts there, and then private fundraising efforts are ongoing. We spend about 10 to 15 hours every week privately fundraising as well. So those are our budget updates.
So you might recall, I think our previous presentations, we usually end on a slide with our economic impact work that we've done, and we expect about a $12.5 million annual economic impact. Instead of ending with that same slide, I thought I would share the National Independent Venue Association has done the very first comprehensive nationwide study of independent concert venues across the nation. This is actually for Michigan alone, the slide that you're looking at now. So I will follow up and send this out. There's a lot of information on there, but you can see the economic impact beyond even just ticket sales is massive for this kind of arts and culture endeavor. So we expect the impact on the city of Lansing to be major. And let's get to some pictures. So we see some folks. This is all, any conduit or electrical, all of that you'll see is all brand new. So this building was, the demo phase took us down to the studs, if you will. I guess that's the saying, but it's actually, masonry. So it was completely bare walls when we started. So it's nice to see a lot of this infrastructure getting in there, that brand new HVAC stuff on the ceiling, insulation and drywall in the recording studios. That photo on the right, you can see that kind of interesting shape. That's like a vocal recording booth. So in the recording studio, if a band's in there recording, the other instruments can be out there, and then in the booth will be the vocalist, or you could also have single instrument recording. And then off to the right there is the control room. Here you can see, as best we can, this is kind of the fun thing about this project, that it's, of course, new construction is the major part of it, but we do have this adaptive reuse component of the 520 building. So you can see trying to maintain some of those architectural features with the arched windows as much as we can. We will be replacing the glass. So some of that stuff, the small elements that are interesting architecturally will be maintained. Here you can see Faith from back in the control room. We've had some of the media center team already walking through, and everyone's super excited. There's me and Will looking at the elevator shaft. I'll go to the next one right away too, because this has been, retrofitting that older building to contain a modern elevator was quite a challenge, but our construction team between Dymaxion and Freund were up for it. And there you can see out in the yard, we've got all that masonry is going to go in that brand new elevator shaft in the coming week. I think they're starting tomorrow. And I believe that's it.
Okay, thank you. I have a question before I turn it over real quick. Ovation, late Q1 2027. Is that January or Q1 of our fiscal year?
I'm sorry, calendar year. So
Okay.
it'd be more like March of 2027.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening. Thanks for being here to present tonight.
course.
Excited. Been hearing about this project for quite some time.
Yeah.
What was the number that you said it's going to take for the rendering that you showed us? It said Lansing Ovation or whatever it said. Was it 28 million? Was it 29 million?
Yes, the construction budget is a little over 28 million.
And you said that private fundraising efforts are still ongoing. How much more money are you trying to raise? And if you achieve that amount, what's it
Yeah.
going to do to the renderings?
Well, happy to talk about this. This is, raising the construction budget alone and attempting to open and bootstrap without a war chest, if you will, to open for business and operational would be borderline irresponsible, right? So we're trying to overshoot that fundraising target. My goal is I will keep my foot on the gas until I would like to raise an additional $3 to $5 million beyond the construction budget, because it'll take us time to ramp up to our pro forma numbers. Our pro forma numbers do show a profit, if you will, of close to $200,000 every year, and that's a very conservative pro forma. There are levers we can pull in there, including fundraising and sponsorships, but we need money to open, to staff up, to hire. It's going to be a large staff, so we are attempting to get fundraising and sponsorships for all that programming that's going to be coming the very first year that we're open. Because all that costs money too, right? So let's say if we get the keys at the end of Q1 of 2027, our first shows are maybe a month after that, May or June. Those offers for those first shows would actually be going out in August or September of this year. And those offers have to go out with guarantees, right? You're guaranteeing artists a certain amount of money. So we need money in the bank to do that.
Okay, so that's $4 million would be potentially for programming and staffing. Okay. No more additional
operations.
Okay, operations, but no more additional construction. You're not going from brass to gold.
I think I've said before that the list of potential enhancements is long, right? So we have closed a lot of that gap. But I mean, the generous grant from the DART Foundation allowed us to go from kind of the basic AV setup that we had in the original budget to now having a very nice one, right? So some of that money could go to enhancements, but it's mostly for operational.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, and good luck on your fundraising.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, just very quickly, thanks for being here.
Of course.
And Dominic, we certainly appreciate the work that you and Emily and our owner reps have put into this. I guess just a quick question. We certainly appreciate the work that has went into the 520 building. But I think most people are excited to see earth moved and foundation installed and maybe at some point vertical, right? Construction of the ovation. How certain are you next quarter we're going to actually start to see some of that, at least with the earth being moved and the foundation being installed?
I'm glad you asked me that, because I wanted to add on to something that Council President Spatafor said. We'll know once it's kind of right now. It's dependent on the weather. We're ready. GeoPier, we are no longer penciled in their schedule. We're inked. We can't be bumped by another project. So I'm told around St. Patrick's Day is when frost laws and that probably will allow us to start working on the GeoPiers. And the Q1 of 2027 date, the target opening date, is totally dependent on that date that we can get in the ground, right? So that could change depending on if it's more like May that we can get in the ground or April. So I'll keep you posted on that, but absolutely, as soon as we're only waiting on the weather at this point.
Any further questions? Oh, Vice President Palvango.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here. I do have one quick question. I know that the last time you presented, you had discussed changing that building methodology to a new system, and you had projected that it would offer some cost savings there. And today, again, you've stated that, you have switched over to this different methodology. Do you have any sort of ballpark idea, or can you give us what that has equated to so far, or what you think it could help save in the future, as you continue using this new methodology?
Well, I think what it really achieved was getting us back to that $28 million budget. We were actually over. So I think Brendan could probably maybe come up with a number to attach to that, but certainly in the 10% range. I mean, I'd say at one point we were close to $3 million over. And we knew a lot of it. That we were being told that our bidders were up front with us. These numbers are because of the uncertainty around tariffs, right? They had to pad their numbers. They're like, it probably won't be this expensive, but we can't take that and push go. Well, that's also uncertainty for us too, right? It would be irresponsible to go on those projects based on that uncertainty. So bringing those divisions and those people to the table, having their ideas for cost savings, that was really beneficial. And now the numbers are real, so.
Yeah, I would say it's probably shaved off about $3 million in total out of the budget, and it's actually been a really valuable exercise outside of just cost. Getting a few fresh eyes with different engineering firms and things, taking a look at the drawings, taking looks at the models. They found a number of inefficiencies. throughout, and we're able to actually correct some things that may have otherwise gone unnoticed. So while it has costed some time, it's been really valuable overall for the project and what will be delivered in the end.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you all for being here. We'll look forward to that tour invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Next up, we're going to hear about the Public Safety and Courts Complex with John McGraw and Dan Wazinski. And Rob Crow. Is Rob here this evening? I didn't see Rob. John, is anyone else joining you? Okay, thanks. So for those of you that are new to City Council, the mic's in front of you. If you push the button that says push, the green light should come on when you're ready to speak. And if you could please introduce yourselves for the council.
Good evening, committee members. Thank you for having us. My name is John McGraw from River Caddis Management. Tonight we have Dan Wazinski, VP of Construction for River Caddis Management and Project Lead. We also have Pat from the Chrisman Company, our construction manager, and we have Paige from Hobson Black. Tonight we are here to present a brief update on the public safety program. As some or most of you may know, River Caddis serves as the owner's representative for the public safety bond and project. And, you know, we're honored to have that responsibility to represent the city, as well as honored to present our updates today. We continue to be on schedule and on budget, which is always fantastic news. A little bit of an update as to what's been happening since the last time we spoke. The combined public safety building is currently roughly around 68% completed. Fire Station 2 was turned over in early November of 2025. Fire Station number 9 is currently about 75% the way completed. The Fire Training Center is roughly 15%, and Fire Station number 8 is about 3%. We've recently conducted tours with a variety of different city stakeholders the last few weeks. So if you weren't able to join, we'll continue to hold those so you can get a chance to walk through, get your eyes on the project as you can see the bones and the arteries of this monumental project that the city of Lansing has undertaken. Again, I'd like to reiterate that we are currently on budget and on schedule, and we're here for any questions that you guys may have. So thank you so much.
Sorry. Are there questions from the committee? Yeah.
Thank you, Council President. I appreciate the tour that you guys provided us earlier in the week. It was eye-opening. Obviously, we've got a lot of members from the local building trades that are here that are working on the job, so I appreciate you guys hiring the local workforce, and I'm excited to see this project through its entirety. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Councilmember Hussein.
Just so my notes are accurate, you said on time and on budget, or on time and under budget?
On time and on budget.
Okay.
Good try, Adam. I also want to thank you. I had a tour earlier in the year and really appreciated it. And some of the stories from some of the folks that are going to be able to work in that space are really exciting to hear from this perspective. When we set out to do this, we knew we were in a deficit for facilities for a lot of our first line employees. And to be able to offer these types of facilities is one part of recruitment and retaining our talent. So thank you for the work that you've done on that. And I think it behooves us to also continue to thank the voters of the city of Lansing for passing that bond and putting these dollars to work for our police and fire. So thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, President Spatafor. Again, thank you. Same sentiments here. I truly appreciated the tour. And what I also would like to speak to is the combination of input from all of the departments. It was very detailed within the tour, and it really spoke to the conversation piece along this process. So thank you so much for all of the time and dedication to this project.
Going once, going twice. Thank you all very much. We'll see you
Thank you
later.
all.
See you at the
Take care.
ribbon cutting. And then our final presentation on construction this evening will come from Mike Morgan, the owner's rep for the City of Lansing for the City Hall project, and Chris Martin from Clark Construction, and anyone else who happens to be here. Same deal, button that says push will turn your mic on when you're ready.
Good evening, Mike Morgan with Kramer Management, 25-year Lansing resident, so excited to be here in front of all of you today. It was back in April that we actually had our groundbreaking ceremony, and then in October had our steel topping off ceremony, but there's been a lot of activity happening on site. I've got Chris Martin with the Clark Construction Company. He's in charge of all the fun and exciting stuff that you see on site going on. We do have some tours scheduled later this month for, I think all of you are invited to those, that you'll see one of us or both of us there for those. We're looking at opening or moving people over late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and that's calendar quarter of this year. Some other key milestones we're working on is we have a local firm, Pace Howe, who's working on our FF&E design, that's furniture and some of the equipment. We're finalizing those designs with input from all the various user groups, and we're putting that up for bid. The rest of the work has already been bid that Chris has been in charge of, so all of that has been under contract and awarded. You're going to start seeing skin go on the outside of the building over the coming months. When you do your tour, you'll see maybe some drywall because we're trying to get a roof on right now as the weather allows. And then over the few other months, you'll see some finishes and some other things taking place. So we're tracking on schedule and budget-wise, yes, we're tracking on budget too.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Hussein.
This is actually for the administration. Where are we at? Because I'm actually surprised to hear that construction will be done maybe at the latest fourth quarter of this year. Where are we at with our relocation plan? How long do we think that relocation is going to take, et cetera?
I would say we're in We're in initial stages now of trying to determine, with input from departments, a reasonable order to go. The good news is we don't have to close City Hall on a Friday and open new City Hall on a Monday. We can be strategic, and depending on workload, time of the year, when people are busy, we will pick who goes and when. Our intention is to move IT and facilities first. We're setting up a new data center within the new City Hall, and facilities and IT will be required kind of to help every single person move into their new space. So after them, we have to determine if City Council is first, if a one-stop shop is first. It'll be detailed communication-wise to let our residents know where to go for what services as we're moving, but we'll be moving department by department, floor by floor. Have not determined all that. We will be working with logistics company that has not gone out to bid yet to help us determine that. But we've started meetings with departments just to understand, finance kind of the end of the year with audit and things is not the best time for them to move. So they'll want to be very strategic in who goes and when. And it could be we have a few folks from finance move every week for 3 weeks until they're all to the new space. Treasurer's office will probably close on a Friday and move and open on a Monday, but every group will be different. One thing that's common right now is we're stressing to review the materials that you have in your current space, especially paper, digitize what you must keep, destroy what you don't need to keep, plan to take less with you, and just look forward to no more leaking ceilings and heat that works, and more ADA-friendly facilities. So lots to look forward to. Certainly a lot of work to do to figure out the order, but we'll be working with council leadership as well as every department to figure out what order makes sense. But yes, end of September into October, We can move people later if they need to stay in this building longer because we'll still have courts, police in this building until early 2027. But we expect the facility will be ready September, October, and we'll have IT already there by then.
I think you may have just touched on it. So internally, with regard to the administration, the goal, I would assume, is to, I don't want to say turn the lights off, but to be out of this building first quarter of 2027. I ask because obviously there's a group out there with interest in terms of this particular property and the development of this particular property, and hopefully that's in the near future is incredibly important.
Yeah, we have, the contract kind of stipulates that I think within 60 days of the last city staff moving out, we turn the property over to the Beitler Group. They didn't, when we last talked to them, which was last fall, they weren't, they were okay if it was a little slower because interest rates and other things were maybe not in their favor to start building a huge hotel. But they're on track and ready to go when we turn it over to them. And we've stayed in contact with Beitler Group as we've gone, and we'll probably give them another update in the next few months, and hopefully we'll be able to have most of the council members attend upcoming tour, and those that can't, we'll schedule more. But it's coming together. And it's a totally different, and I said this at the public safety tour, totally different budget than the public safety facility, totally different purpose, but very practical, very nice, and we're really looking forward to it.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. And I just want to expound a little bit on that. When I did the public safety tour last week, they mentioned that the courts, lockup, police, and fire should be there before the end of the year. So do you anticipate them still being here?
So I think public safety and courts complex will be completed by 12/31 and ready to move in, but then they'll phase their move in from this building. So everybody that's not police and courts will be moving into City Hall. Everyone that's left will start moving into public safety and courts after January 1st of 2027. And we haven't picked that order and what makes sense either. Again, something like lockup would be, close one day and open, hopefully strategically when we have little to no one in the lockup, so we don't have to move people too. But that second complex will be moved after everyone else is already out of City Hall.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question. I heard you say data center at the City Hall?
You did.
Okay.
It's okay. It'll be where our servers for city computers are. We have 2 data centers, like every entity that has computers. We have 2 data centers for City of Lansing today. One's in this building, one's in another building. We'll have 2 in the future in 2 different buildings. That's for redundancy and backup. So if servers shut down one place, we can keep city business running.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Well, and for what it's worth, we have 3 staff and 2 printers if you're thinking about ease of move and things like that. Just keep that in mind. So, any other questions for Christopher or the team from KMG? Seeing none, thank you all for being here this evening.
Thank you.
And we will move on to our next agenda item. Recall we dispensed with Mr. Butcher's appointment. So the next item is a resolution to set a public hearing on the First Amendment to the operating agreement between the City of Lansing and the Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority. To explain this amendment, we have the city attorney, Greg. Mr. Finker.
Thank you. I think the amendment is in the packet. It's a fairly thin amendment as documents go. The main purpose initially was to at least extend the deadline for termination of the agreement. Currently, it was a 10-year operating and licensing agreement with LEPFA and the city that ends this October of 2026. As council knows, LEPFA entered into an operating agreement, or rather a management agreement with ASM Global, which is now called, I think, Legends Global, or maybe Global is wrong, but ASM/Legends, I think that was a 5-year agreement, and that was last year, and so the request is to extend by 4 years LEPFA's operating agreement with the city. So that's the first thing. It would terminate on October 19th of 2030 instead of 2026 to permit LEPFA to continue to exist and maintain that agreement with its management company. While we were in there, Specifically, we wanted to clean up one, or I guess two things. One thing, pull City Market out as one of the downtown facilities, which is how the LEPA managed facilities are defined, and that term is used sort of throughout the agreement. City Market is separately leased and separately managed at this point, and that's been handled through other documents along the way, but this would formally pull it out of the license and operating agreement between City and LEPFA, and then similarly moving Groesbeck Golf Course in. I think it was in 2016 that originally LEPFA took over management of Groesbeck Golf Course. That's been handled sort of separately, but I think that's been going well, and it's a desire for that to continue to be one of the managed facilities. And then similarly, at the time of the 2016 agreement, the stadium was referred to as the Cooley Law School Stadium. It is now Jackson Field, and so there's a desire to correct that. The only other thing is, and this is in the management agreement between LEPFA and ASM/Legends, there's the allowance for Legends to sort of, I guess, market possible naming rights for facilities that are not the stadium to try to generate revenue. And in order to allow that, there was a specific provision to permit that marketing to occur. And I will just note that they can engage in that marketing, try to negotiate a deal, and then anything must get final authority from the mayor, who can approve or deny for any reason. So those are the changes in the amendment.
So the city has, any questions? So on the naming rights, the city has veto authority on that? Because I
Yes.
see we're adding Groesbeck Golf Course
Right.
to be defined as a downtown facility, and then naming rights to downtown facilities granted to the third party.
Correct. And I think I just recall from the discussions at the time with LEPFA and ASM/Legends, I don't think there's a desire for them to change the name of Groesbeck. It's that other things can get named, rooms,
Clubhouse.
buildings, stuff like that. And by named, I mean sponsored, and then money can come in to provide revenue for operations.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll need a motion to set the public hearing for February 23rd.
Thank you. I move the resolution to set a public hearing on the First Amendment to the operating agreement between the City of Lansing and Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority for February 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m.
That is a proper motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Next on our agenda, I need to entertain some motions for closed sessions. Councilmember Palavaniklu.
Thank you. Pursuant to MCL 15.268E, I hereby move that we recess into closed session to consult with the city attorney in connection with pending litigation, that being Hulan versus the City of Lansing et al. An open meeting will have a detrimental financial effect on the litigating or settlement position of the City of Lansing concerning this case. Outside counsel working on this case, Andrew Bergey, is invited into this portion of closed session. In addition, pursuant to MCL 15.2681H of the Open Meetings Act, I hereby move that once discussion regarding the litigation matter concludes, that we continue the closed session to consult with the city attorney to consider a material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state statute, specifically to discuss written material from the city attorney provided under attorney-client privilege and attorney work product, which is also exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act pursuant to MCL 15.2431G.
Before we vote on that, I'll note that the mayor has requested that Christopher Mumby attend the second portion of the closed session. So if no one has an objection to that, all right, we'll ask for a roll call vote on this motion.
Councilmember Cost? Councilmember Garza?
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein? Yes. Councilmember Palivanoglou?
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter? Yes. Councilmember Navarez Martinez?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez? Yes. Motion carries 8-0.
That is a proper motion. We are now in closed session. what? It is 7:31, and we are back to open session of the Committee of the Whole. However, I'm missing 2 members, so we'll sit here for a minute. For those of you who are joining us for the City Council meeting, if you didn't hear announcements from the clerk, we are still in the Committee of the Whole, which began at 5:30. We've got a couple more agenda items, and then we will recess. We'll take a break for about 15 minutes, and then we will gavel into the City Council meeting. So thank you for your patience. We are now to item number 7. Is there any other business before the committee? Councilmember Palavonico.
Thank you. I move to approve the resolution regarding the settlement of Hulan versus City of Lansing et al. With the terms as discussed in closed session as outlined in the resolution in front of you.
That is a proper motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. This item will be on the City Council agenda as a late item, which will require suspension of our rules. At 7:32, we are adjourned. For those of you waiting, we will return at 7:47.
Like a wall of fire. And when we entered from the hill, you can see like just a black smoke.
Were the Russians bombing? Is that what you were looking at?
Yeah, Russians were bombing. Also, street fight was going on, and